Week 6 of college football is upon us. Week 6. We said this in the NFL show, but I'm going to steal my own intro anyways. I'm going to plagiarize myself and say we have football every day from now until November 27th, I believe. So pretty excited about that here. A lot of that is obviously going to be college football. We're going to start getting some action. So I can't wait to start making some Mac picks on like a Tuesday and Wednesday night. It's one of my favorite things to do. It goes from, I wonder how many more people are going to be watching the MAC this year because they started a dynasty with them in college football 25.
Oh, so, loads more, no question.
Yeah, MAC is going to get some ratings bumps going on. We are a week away, so college football week 6 isn't bad. The next 2 weeks, though, we have the games on the 12th and on the 19th are kind of the most epic games of the year. People have been talking about how dare you schedule a wedding on these dates. Those are great. But what's a sneaky game that you guys have for this week that could sneak its way into maybe like one of the better games of the year, if any?
I'm pulling up the schedule real quick while my
I know.
That's all right.
If we're talking about our pick specific, I'm going ballsy and saying Tennessee, Arkansas. This Arkansas team has been pretty sneaky so far. And so have the SEC games in conference across the board. Like there's been a lot of close games and a couple of really big upsets. So I'm excited to see exactly what Arkansas is made of as they play Tennessee this week.
Yeah, I'm going Mizzou and Texas A&M. We're going to talk about this. And, I just think it's an interesting SEC game that could has potential to determine a playoff spot. So I am very intrigued now that we have 12 teams in the playoff at games that could determine a playoff spot. So I'm excited about those.
I think the game that I'm probably most curious in that's kind of off the radar a little bit. I mean, it's still a top 10 team or top 25 team. USC at Minnesota.
Yes.
Minnesota came back against Michigan and should have actually had an opportunity with that stupid onside kick penalty, offside penalty that shouldn't have been called against them. USC kind of struggled at first against Wisconsin, was able to come back. So that's kind of a off the radar game that I'm kind of interested in. I'm also interested in Utah State versus Boise State just because I want to see if Ashton Genty he's on pace for like 3,000 yards, y'all.
Insane.
Like, it's stupid. Like
he's going to give Travis Hunter that run for the Heisman for sure.
It's an NFL grown man playing in a very weak conference right now.
Yep. Yeah.
And he did it against good teams too, like against Oregon. He put up numbers. So yeah,
he feels like a college football 25 character for sure.
He feels like a college football 2014 player back when you could create your own player and you just slid everything to 100.
Sure. I love that. All right. Well, speaking of Tennessee, Arkansas, Stefan, why don't you kick us off with your pick in the Tennessee, Arkansas game?
Yeah, respect to Arkansas, but Tennessee is at a different level right now. I don't think they are a team, and I'm not saying that Georgia did this last week, but Tennessee's not at that level where they have the opportunity to overlook any opponent. So like where Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, maybe they do because they can, because they've been there. Tennessee's trying to get back to this space, and I just think their defense is incredible. I don't anticipate Arkansas being able to move the ball much against them. So that's why I don't like the over in this game, even though I could see Tennessee really going all out. Dylan Sampson is a underrated running back. I think Tennessee, everyone talks about Nico Iamaleava and their 4 stud wide receivers, but Dylan Sampson is kind of the heartbeat of that offense. He just eats up so many yards. They play that veer and shoot, so you got those wide receivers hugging the sideline. Arkansas is going to spread out, and Dylan Sampson's going to take advantage. Give me Tennessee minus 13.5 on the road. And that Pig Suey chant you love so well, Eric Doran, will be drifting quietly into the night as the stadium empties out when Tennessee is up 28-7 going into the fourth quarter.
Sorry for any kids listening, but fuck that chant. My kids aren't allowed to go to the University of Arkansas because your chant is stupid. All right. Speaking of stupid things and slogans and whatnot, let's stick in the SEC. Mike, you have a pick for the Ole Miss game.
Yeah, give me the team total for Ole Miss over 30.5. We've talked about this offense repeatedly. They're going against, or last week they lost to Kentucky, and we saw what Kentucky did against Georgia the week before, and then they stunned Ole Miss. I think what those two games have kind of told us is that what happened against South Carolina is a little bit of a fluke. And I think that Kentucky's finally remembering how to play football again. So I don't expect to have a repeat of what happened with Ole Miss last week. And it just probably kind of pissed them off even more. So they're going to come back and bounce back. South Carolina, very unpredictable team. The only reputable team they've played to this point is LSU, and LSU put up 36 points with a late win. In that game, South Carolina gave up over 400 yards of offense, and that LSU offense is not near on the same level as this Ole Miss offense is. So I think Ole Miss can very easily go in and put up 40 on them.
Yeah, Lane Kiffin, man, has got to be pretty pissed and revved up and getting this team pretty hyped to respond, because if they want to make their way again back to this playoff conversation, like, you got to respond. You open the year with 4 cupcakes, and then you came and got punched in the mouth by Kentucky. So, like, yeah, come score some points now. Now's the week to respond and show that, pretty much shut people up, because everyone's talking shit about Ole Miss right now.
Yeah, and we talked in the SEC preview show about how we expect there to be at minimum a 4-way tie of 1-loss teams. And if that happens now, then you're out of losses. You have no more chance. You've got to finish undefeated for the rest of the year, and they haven't even hit the hardest part of their schedule yet. So they've kind of got to, cook their shit in the gear and get rolling here. But I like it as a big bounce back opportunity in this game.
Love it. Love it. All right, I'm going to take us over to Tobacco Road rivalry. I don't know if that's what it's actually called, but we're going to take 2 teams in North Carolina. Wake Forest at North Carolina State, over 54.5 points. We got, again, a bit of a rivalry game here. I'm taking the over, though, because we also have some bad defenses. Like, Grayson McCall hasn't exactly been lighting it up, but I like him and Concepcion to get going versus a Wake Forest team who has the 12th worst pass defense in the country. They also give up the 22nd most points in the country. NC State actually has a bottom 10 defense, so they're even worse. And Wake Forest has Hank the Tank Bachmeier, slinging it around over there. So I think give me 54.5. These teams average 27.9 and 29 points respectively. Love for this to be kind of a high scoring game against 2 really bad defenses and decent offenses, honestly. Like, I know they're not great, but they're decent, and these defenses are horrid. So that's my ACC pick for the week. All right.
Yeah, those defenses are horrid. I do like you mentioned the quarterback for NC State. It's CJ Bailey now, because Grayson's out injured for the year.
Oh, out. I did not know that.
Well, he's injured, I think. Yeah, but NC State's defense is a train wreck. So I think you're safe.
It's gross.
They are absolutely atrocious. It's really bad. All right, Mike. Oh no, wait, Stefan. How about you take us to the Big Ten? An Indiana versus Northwestern game.
Yeah, I think Coach Sig here. Yeah. Coach Sig has just been amazing for Indiana. Indiana is just putting on points for fun. Like, they have no trouble. Let me rephrase. It was a rough start last week. They were only up by 7 points at halftime, despite having -2 turnovers on the day. Curtis Rourke cleaned it up, and then they just went on a run. I cannot imagine this shitty Northwestern team in, the most, it's a practice field that they're playing on. Like, their stadium is going through renovations. This is not one of the games at Wrigley, so the crowd will not be a factor. Maybe you're afraid that Indiana might be a little bit sleepy going into a quiet atmosphere like that and don't get up for this game. I don't think this team plays like that. Indiana is ranked, y'all. Like, this is a big deal for this team. They have a beautiful schedule that if they win the games that they should, because I do think they'll be favored in almost all of these games, they're gonna make a push for the playoff, which is stupid to think about. And maybe I'm just getting too excited, but against this Northwestern team, 13.5 is not enough. So I'm taking another road minus 13.5 here. But Indiana's covered. I think they've covered every game this year, so I'm not leaving yet. So we're gonna ride this until they stop.
Week 6 is the week to get too excited. Like, I think CU can make the playoffs right now. Like, it's delusional, but you can be so excited about so many teams in the playoffs right now. Yeah, I love that. We are going to move on, however, to a game that Mike and I both have a pick on. Mike, why don't you tell us why you have Mizzou +3 versus Texas A&M, though?
Yeah, man. I think I've been fading Mizzou more than anybody else on the show since the start as a playoff team. But I do think they're being disrespected here as a top 10 team getting 3 points against A&M. I love this. They kind of got embarrassed a little bit by Vandy. And then they had a bye week to kind of figure everything out. And I think they come out swinging. A&M, their D line has been fantastic, and I don't expect Mizzou to be able to run the ball like they typically do, which means this is the perfect script for a Luther Burden breakout finally. Get the ball over the top, and I think Mizzou just kind of throws the ball to easily cover +3. A&M, they still don't really know who's going to be their quarterback. Is it Wigman or is it Marcel Reed?
It's Marcel Reed.
Is it official Marcel Reed for this point now?
I mean, Drink, the coach for Mizzou, he said that. I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, the coach for Mizzou was like, "Yeah, no, it's going to be Reed." Like he was.
It
very
should
much,
be Reed. Let's be honest. If it's not Reed, then give me Mizzou like -12. I don't care. But like, even then, like Reed only accounted for a total of 176 passing yards by himself, even though he is a dual threat quarterback. So I just don't think A&M is going to be able to do enough for Mizzou coming in, feeling disrespected with a chip on their shoulder. I think Mizzou's just going to take this over.
Yeah, Mizzou's acting a little too humble going into this game for me, which to me means they're going to come out and like smack Texas A&M in the face. Like their coach is like, oh, like we're worried about preparing this and that, and like it's obviously like some showmanship, but I don't have really much else to add except that I'm taking Mizzou on the money line to win this straight up at +114 because points are for cowards. Points are for cowards. Stefan shaking his head. Give me Mizzou to win this sucker. Dude, straight up.
My unit size is so small that like the difference between -110 and +114 is negligible. So I'll take the points.
It's not about the size of the unit; it's how you use it.
Where you
it's how you use it. Yeah, it's where you put it.
Yeah.
Steve, take us back to the ACC. You notice we're really good at sticking to themes here. Take us back to the ACC. Clemson at Florida State.
Man, there was a moment. I mean, ever since the schedule went out until like week 1 or week 0, maybe, Clemson at Florida State was highlighted on everyone's, radars here because this was going to be the game of the week. Like this was going to be the game that saved this week. But no, Florida State is garbage. And Clemson has really come back to life. Cade Klubnik is actually like a top 10 Heisman finalist right now because he's really turned his season. May I even say like his career around here at Clemson because he was really underperforming. And now he is like just showing off his incredible athleticism and he's getting like Wesco and some of his other receivers involved here. So I'm going to do a kind of a similar play that didn't hit last week, but I'm going to go to it again because we're going to get it at -7 Clemson in the first half. Yeah. I'm buying a couple of points there, or no, I'm buying like a half a point maybe. So I'm getting it at -134 instead of your typical -110. But I'm willing to pay up for them just to be up by 1 touchdown at halftime.
Yeah, love that. You still got the push and play. You never know. I like that. FSU, I just can't believe that, like, dude, I want to like just get a clip of our ACC preview show, and it's probably just me. I don't remember exactly what Stefan said. But then have like as I'm saying the ACC is a Florida State only conference, and I said something like, why are we even talking about the rest of these teams? Like it's like drawing clown makeup on me as I'm saying that. Like that should be. Clip.
The rest of the ACC is not like incredible by any means. I don't think you were 100% wrong.
But FSU's a bad team. Like
they are
a bad team.
They're at the bottom of the pack in the ACC, no question.
It's so bad. All right, Mike, you and I have another pick. We're like Eskimo brothers today. Why don't you talk to us about the Michigan at Washington pick? This is actually going to mirror our last pick pretty well too, which I actually enjoy. So why don't you tell me about Michigan and Washington?
Yeah, man, just 3-point road dogs here. We've got a replay of the national title game, but I mean, just entirely different teams, new head coaches, new quarterbacks, new everything. You've got the number 10 team in the country going up against the unranked opponent and they're getting 3 points. I don't know if you can do enough to explain that to me and make me understand it.
I'll do my
Shut up,
best in a
Stefan.
minute.
Stefan's gonna tell us why we're wrong.
No, I get it. But like this is the story of Michigan's defense here, right? Their defensive line is insane. They've currently got 4 players that will all be in the NFL, and 3 of them will likely be first round draft picks. And meanwhile, Washington's offensive line, they've got 5 new starters on the offensive line. And I think Michigan's D line is just going to run havoc here and just have their way with it. That's as deep as it goes for me. I just, from a defensive standpoint, I don't think Washington has what it takes to do anything. They've played the 117th and the 73rd total offense in the country, or sorry, total defense in the country, and even then barely put up 24 points. So I think they're going to have to put up at least 24 points to beat Michigan here, and I don't think they can do that with this defensive line. Don't look at me like that. You have needed that at least twice this week or this year against Michigan.
I'm going to back you up before Stefan tells us we're wrong. And I'm just going to reemphasize, points are for cowards. Points are for cowards. I'm taking Michigan on the money line to win this. The wrong team is favored. University of Washington went to Rutgers, looked like a whole bag of ass, and came back all the way from the East Coast this week. Like did they have to travel farther than like anyone besides like maybe going to Hawaii? Like came all the way back. You got Michigan coming in. Michigan has 1 bad loss. That's it. I think they are going to absolutely roll Washington. But Stefan, tell us why we're wrong. You don't have a pick.
I'm not going to tell you you're wrong because I don't have a pick. I'm not taking Washington. If I was going to play anything, I think between what Mike already said and what I'm about to say, I'd be on the under. So my problem was this, is that Orgy's a terrible quarterback, even for college. So I have some numbers to back this up. So with Orgy at quarterback, they average 1.92 points per possession, which is 84th in the country. Now, keep in mind that they had 2 scoring drives last week of less than 20 yards. So you take those out and it's even worse. Their offensive success rate is 113th in the country. Their explosive play percent is at 7.6%, which is 123rd in the country. Their explosive pass offense is only 3.3%, which is second to last. So they cannot move the ball through the air. And when Rutgers played Washington, it wasn't until Callan Mathis dropped back and started throwing the ball that they were able to move it against Washington, because Washington plays that bare front, which if you play NCAA football, you know what I'm talking about. And so it's hard to run against that. And if Orgy can't find anyone, I dare you to name a wide receiver for that team that isn't their tight end. I don't think anyone listening can do that. I think it's a problem for Michigan. I don't think they're going to be able to get up and score very much against this Washington team. And y'all, like, I know that we don't like this Washington offense. Will Rogers, though, has been pretty efficient. He's got 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. They're not going to turn the ball over. I think if they can win the field position game, they're going to win this game. And that's what it's going to come down to. So to me, I don't want to play a side on this. I like the under. Maybe I would do like a same game parlay, take Michigan plus like 7.5, and then tease the under up as much as I can or something like that. Because I don't think either team rolls on this one. But I do kind of get nervous taking. I think there's a reason why Washington's favored. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I get it. I think Michigan's averaged 248 yards on the ground since Orgy took over. And even with that defense, I think you have ways to get to the edge and find ways to keep the ball on the ground and just out scheme them. I think they will be out coached. I don't believe in Jed Fish as a coach. But I get it. I mean, it's all valid points. Orgy is not a good passer in any shape of the imagination.
Scary.
That's my last point. Is Jed Fish is not the guy. And
is Sharon Moore though? Like, do we know if he's a good coach?
I don't care if he is. They have more talent than University of Washington that hung around. I'm taking the team that went out and beat USC. I'm gonna take them to win in Washington. But I think we'll all be texting about that on Saturday.
I think if USC plays Michigan again next week, USC is favored again by 5.5. just like they were before. I still think they're the better team.
And maybe they lose by 3 like they did before.
Very possible.
I don't know.
All
It's
right.
hard to beat one team twice in the same season. That's why, as a Georgia fan, I hated playing Alabama in the regular season and the SEC championship.
Which is going to happen again. All right, Stefan, close us off with your James Madison pick, playing the worst team in the FBS.
Yeah. So ULM, I had a show pick for them a couple weeks ago to cover 48, plus 48 against Texas. And they couldn't do it for me. Actually, I think it was 44 and they lost by 46. So they got close, but they're shit. And James Madison is awesome. They have scored 133 points in the last 2 games. Like, they're so good. And one of those games was against UNC. So it's not like it was a Power 4 team. So they're a good team. ULM is not. Barnett is a good quarterback. Booty is not.
I can't believe you are picking against our general.
General Booty, his name should be General Ass. Like, he is bad. We're going to go with James Madison minus 16.5. I think it's a great number. I'll probably slider this one over and do a ladder on this one as well.
Yeah, they're on track to they're on track to continue to lose by large margins. All right, let me give you my pick. Mike actually has a parlay, which we'll get to last, that we've already talked about the games, but I'll let him give that to you. But I'm going to the Colorado State at Oregon State game. So Colorado State is going to Corvallis. Oregon State's been beating lesser opponents by an average of 20 points. Colorado State is definitely a lesser opponent for them. This Fowler Nicolosi kid sucks. Like, he's not good. Like, I know I watched him with the CU game, but you look at the game, they've beaten UTEP and Northern Colorado. So 2 very bad teams. And then they've gotten smacked by their other 2 teams.
That's your father's alma mater. You put some respect on that school, you son of a bitch.
It's where I met my ex-wife too. Is is northern Colorado. So yeah, like look, man, Colorado State's not a good team. They have Horton as a wide receiver who will probably still go to the NFL and as an earlier wide receiver pick, kind of no matter how their season goes. But they're not good. They're really not good. Oregon State, I think, handles this like they've been handling lesser opponents already this year at home, minus 11. So, yeah, give me the Rams to, it always sucks to be a CSU Ram. All right, Mike, why don't you give us the parlay? We've already talked about these 2 games, so hit us.
Yeah, we've already talked about it. I'm not going to go too deep into stats or anything, but give me Ole Miss on the money line with Arkansas plus 24 points against Tennessee. We'll primarily focus on the Tennessee-Arkansas game here. I think Tennessee is going to cover with ease. But I do think this Arkansas team can be sneaky in these conference games. They're running the ball pretty well. They're averaging almost 450 yards of offense a game. So I do think they're going to be able to move the ball fairly well. But 24 points in a SEC conference game, I feel like it's just a lot of points unless you're Mississippi State. Arkansas has kept everything close this year. They've pulled off a couple of upsets to this point. With Auburn and A&M. So
I mean, they could be 5-0, honestly. Like, they've been in every game.
Absolutely, especially the OK State game.
Yeah.
Like, they just handed that game away at the end of it.
Yeah.
So I love this one a lot. It feels pretty easy, which could be a little scary that it feels so easy, but it feels easy, so I'm taking it. Ole Miss money line and Arkansas plus 24.
I love this. I wish I could tease that much at the New Mexico casino. You could not, unfortunately. But I love this. This is great. All right. This is the part of the show where we run things down. Before we do that, don't forget to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, X, and wherever you get your podcasts. Hit all the positive buttons, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. All right, Stefan, why don't you hit us with your picks, and then Mike and I will wrap us up.
All right, we're going to start off. Oh, my God. All my picks are road teams. Hate that for me. Tennessee, minus 13.5 at Arkansas. Indiana, minus 13.5 at Northwestern. Honestly, that's not a road game. That's just a bad place to play. Clemson, minus 7 in the first half at Florida State. And finally, James Madison, minus 16.5 at ULM.
And they're all road favorites. I was just like, road favorites is what stays right.
I'm a basic bitch.
Mike, you go for it.
Give that man a PSL.
And I was fighting for another favorite in Washington. Like, I really am basic.
Give me Ole Miss team total over 30.5. Missouri +3 against Texas A&M. Give me Michigan +3 versus Washington, and then I'll finish with a parlay of Ole Miss on the money line with Arkansas +24 points against Tennessee.
There we go. Mike's balancing us out a little bit. I'll take Wake Forest at North Carolina State over 54.5 points with some bad defense. Michigan on the money line at Washington. I don't need those points. Colorado State at Oregon State -11 right there. And then give me Mizzou just to win straight up against Texas A&M. That's it. That's the show. Go check out the NFL episode. We will see y'all later.